VCR Mageddon joining me on the gram. I appreciate you. Again, we're about to get started with our Deciphered for our next episode here. Be on Facebook, be on Instagram. It's also going to be coming to YouTube. So give me a couple seconds to go in and sit down. Maybe get your popcorn, something to drink or whatever. And we're going to do this. What's up, Shalom? I see you as well. And no, I am not trying to get sponsorship from Hasbro and the people who produce a show of some sort. Anywho, I'm just going to sip my water here. Get my UPstander cups too, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, Optimus got to give me a little bit of love here. Optimus got to give me a little bit of love. I'm just saying. Let me grab this book over here as well. So again, we are here. We are getting it in. Another episode of Deciphered. Appreciate you all joining from wherever you are. We've had people tune in. Peace to you too, VCR, man, no doubt. We've had people tune in from around the world, parts of Europe. People have tuned in from Colombia, all across the U.S. as well, in different countries. So I definitely appreciate you joining every single day. I see you, Masha Vanilla, joining as well. Thank you so much. And again, what I decided to do was start this series, which I'm calling Deciphered, a spoken word series. This is our fourth or fifth episode. Is going by so fast, and I'm having so much fun. And definitely know if you can't hear me on any of the platforms right now, we're on Facebook right now, we're on Instagram, it's coming up on YouTube later. And of course, you could always go to where? Yes, UPstanderInternational.com and learn more about this work that I'm doing. And really see more of the videos, more of the live performances. We really appreciate all of the support that we've been getting from all of y'all as it relates to this series, as we're growing it every week. Just doing our best to have a lot of fun, keep people entertained, but also, I've been doing this poetry all around the world, and a lot of people are always asking me, well, what does this mean? What does that word mean? Where did this come from? Where did that come from? And I figured, what better time right now? B-Tech, I see you. B-Tech 79 is in the building. What better time to sit down and break down some of these poems? So some of these poems, you're going to have heard before. Other poems might be brand new to you. If they're poems that you have heard me doing in a show somewhere, you could also hit me up and let me know if you want to hear those. Of course, there's opportunities for question and answers as well. You can do that. Ask some questions below in your comments. We'd appreciate that as well. So what I want to do, the two poems that I'm going to do today, and so far, the poems that I've been doing have been coming from this book, which is available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and anywhere, places are sold. Over this time where people are, where we are right now, I am going to be turning this and my other books into audio books as well. So people could be able to, get those, see those, download them as well, listen to them on, platforms like Audible, and those things are coming as well. And some of the poems that I'm performing are also available on iTunes and other places where music is able to be downloaded. So with that said, I am going to get to my first poem today. And again, really, at the end of the day, it's just about, getting the word out there and letting people know that, poetry is really important. It's something that, has saved my life. And particularly for National Poetry Month, I thought it'd be a great time. Somewhat, I see you. I thought it would be a great time to really kick this off. So that's what I want to do. So, Progress is going to be the first poem that I'm going to do. All right? On page 111 and from the Limbs of My Poetree, Tree. So I got two poems for you today. First one is going to be Progress, and then the second one is going to be called The Diatribe. When I was out there on the scene a lot, people really also enjoyed the Diatribe a lot, so I'm going to be sharing that one with you as well. All right? But here's the first one. It's called Progress, or Excuse Me, Do You Have the Time? I'm walking. I look at a white man. He's scared of me. If I stand outside at 2 a.m. with 5 or 6 of my friends, I'm breaking some law. I'm walking. My eyes fall upon a beautiful mansion. The only black people inside and out are mowing the lawn or preparing dinner or rocking someone else's baby to sleep. I look at the paper An attack by Klansmen and white supremacists left 2 brothers dead. I look at the pictures in a well-known magazine, and the blacks inside, they all look like clowns or thieves. America hates me. A white woman kills her babies, and the nation blames me. A white man kills his wife, and the nation is on a manhunt for me. Do they want to lynch me? I want to tap that white woman on the shoulder and ask her for the time, but she might cry, "Help! He's trying to rape me." Now tell me, is this the 18th, 19th, 20th, or 21st century? The reason why I wrote this poem is because there was a theme that was playing in my mind of the more things change, the more things stay the same. And on many levels, we've experienced such a great deal of progress in this society, but there are certain things we have still have been yet to conquer. And we see time and time again cycles of history repeating itself. Alejandro, what's up? I see you. Thanks for joining. We see history repeating itself over and over and over again. I'm glad you remember that, Join VCR. I still got it with this, right? So I'm looking at a white man. He's scared of me. Across all centuries, we see that happening even today. Look what's happening in so many of our situations with issues relating to Black Lives Matter and the like, right? If I stand outside at 2 a.m. with 5 or 6 of my friends, I'm breaking some laws. Well, some of y'all who are from Boston remember things like, the Charles Stewart case where, there was curfews put on people and we couldn't be out at different times. That happened in my lifetime. And that is something that has happened over the centuries as it relates to keeping Black people in our place, right? So again, the parallels are there. Breaking some law. I'm walking. My eyes fall upon a beautiful mansion. The only Black people inside and out are mowing the lawn, preparing dinner, or rocking someone else's baby to sleep. Now, of course, there have been great instances of Black people achieving riches and wealth and other types of success, but we know on the whole, as it relates to the majority of wealth, a lot of it is not in Black hands. And so in many situations, many people who occupy these places or who are people who work there as domestics, we know that there's a great deal of success in society, but the wealth gap has not reach any form or level of equality. And that's what I'm speaking to in that. I look at the paper. An attack by Klansmen left 2 brothers dead. I added white supremacists to that because if we look at what the FBI has stated as it relates to crime being on the rise and hate crimes being up over 200%, the number 1 and 2 targets in 2019 and 2020 are Black people first, followed by Jewish people. So this could be early 1900s, just could be any time, any form of white supremacist action, something we're still suffering from. I look at the pictures in a well-known magazine and the blacks inside, they all look like clowns or thieves. America hates me. We still see depictions of Black people, of Black males, of Black women in positions that don't connote a great deal of respect in many of our publications. And in many of the things that we see on television, we're only seen in ways that are criminalized. So that's where that came from. A white woman kills her babies and the nation blames me. That happened in our lifetime. Remember down in the Carolinas with Susan Smith, and they were on the run. They were on a nationwide manhunt for the killers of her babies, and it turned out she was the killer. A white man kills his wife, and the nation is on a manhunt for me. That takes me again back to the days of Boston, Roxbury, Mattapan, all these places. Charles Stewart, who killed his own wife, but said that a Black person did it. And we were getting strip search, and we were being terrorized on many levels in Boston during that time. And then it turns out that he did it, and before he could face justice, he jumped off a bridge and killed himself. And there have been instances like that throughout time. You go back to places like Black Wall Street and other places where so many times riots and lynchings have happened because of accusations of things that we didn't do, primarily towards white women, but just in general. Petty theft could lead to a lynching. Being accused of disrespecting somebody, not calling a white man sir, could lead to those types of things. And on some levels, we've still seen some of that today. And so I end with, I want to tap that white woman on the shoulder and ask her for the time, but she might cry, "Help, he's trying to rape me." Now tell me, is this the 18th, 19th, 20th, or 21st century? the more things change, the more a lot of things stay the same. And I believe that we can never put ourselves in a position where, we're getting too comfortable to the point to believe that some of these things won't happen or can't affect us. Because that's where we get caught. That's where we get caught. And so that was my first point. I see VCR made a comment. They were considering reinstating the death penalty during the Stewart case. Yep, absolutely. And many of these people who are out there being these big time advocates, for the death penalty, aren't really taking into mind a lot of the disparities that many of our communities face, or maybe they are. And that's one of the reasons why they want it back, to get rid of many of us sooner. And so that's where that poem came from. Progress, or excuse me, do you have the time? Because I couldn't really figure out how I wanted to name that one. And so that's where that came from. Feel free to hit me up with any other questions or comments before I hop into this next poem, which was also a favorite when I was out on the circuit a lot more, doing my thing. And like I said, it's called The Diatribe. Sponsors. Anyway, so now with this poem, don't get offended if you feel like I'm calling you out in any way, shape, or form. Everything that I write is a call to action. And I always want in everything that we do, how can we have the ability to make ourselves better? How can we have the ability to do better? And if you feel like something in here that I'm saying applies to you and you can take action on it, by all means, get out and do that. And as somebody once said, I believe it was the great Karen Hunter, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. All right, so here we go. The Diatribe. Dietribe. Yes, the E is replacing the A in the diatribe. Here we go, Shauma. That's right. Tricia, I see you. What's going on? Hope you're doing well. Better than good and better than most. So check it out. The Diatribe. Hi. How are you? Ever get that not so thin feeling? Ever wish that you could look down and see your toes without having to bend halfway over? Ever wake up wondering how you can turn that 2-liter into a 6-pack without doing a sit-up? Well, you're not alone, because you see millions of Americans in this fast food nation are just like you, but have no fear. Science is on your side, because now you can lose all the weight you want and you don't even have to exercise. To hell with running, walking, bike riding, doing yoga, and eating right, because nowadays we got pills, potions, and diet programs to perfectly keep us all looking tight. I mean, hell, why get up and do a sit-up when you can just get one of those ABBAways and vibrate all day until the pounds just wither away? Or maybe you can try diet programs like Jenny Craig, Jack LaLanne, Atkins, or any other kind, as long as you can stay in that McDonald's line and out of the gym. Science got your back, man, so if you want to lose that fat, man, don't lose hope. Drink more Coke, because you never have to jump rope again. You don't have to run, get in the ring, and bob and weave. Man, real soon you won't even have to breathe, because they're concocting new formulas to suck that fat right out of you in one swoop. Whoosh, it's better than liposuction. From the Blob to Tyra Banks or Wesley Snipes, get that body looking real tight without ever having to eat right. No more fruits, vegetables, and vitamins for dinner, because new technology will keep us all looking thinner. And for you poets out there, do you know how I stay slim? I've created my own new formula called poetry. You see, I recite 5 poems a day at key hours, and the excess weight just rolls right off, but only if the poems are 3 minutes and 10 seconds tops. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time while augmenting my waistline. You see, I may sound like I'm joking, but I'm really hoping that we'll take better steps to improve our well-being, because we're seeing that Americans are becoming larger as the search for quick fixes reaches new heights, because we want to be able to watch 8 hours of TV a day and ruin our sight, PlayStations all night, poison ourselves with Mad Cows and Sprite, and still ask, how can I lose this cellulite? I mean, is this not ridiculous? Haven't you simply realized that you are what you eat, or you eat what you are? Didn't that little yellow cartoon germ tell you that you are what you swallow? So stop eating crap like there's no tomorrow. I mean, isn't it that simple? I mean, I've had children coming into my literature class literally eating cake frosting for breakfast, while many misguided Muslim children break fast at Burger King, so they're never really purifying themselves. For we live in a society where little kids with asthma have strokes because McDonald's is the new home-cooked meal for breakfast and lunch, with Kentucky fake chickens for dinner and leftover Savory's cheesecake for dessert. It hurts for me to have to say all this, but too many of us are losing our workout ethic, spending more money so we can move less and eat more, while many of the world's poor eat one meal a day. See, this is all unnerving because here we're not even serving our kids what they need. So on both sides of the world, our children are malnourished. Since the fast food industry uses subliminal criminal messages to attract our children to trash. And then we wonder why we have increasing rates of heart disease and diabetes while our kids are still in their teens, since the federal government feeds them the same crap in our schools. Oh God, I ask, how have we become such fools, intent on poisoning ourselves by eating hamburgers composed of 30 different cows, and we can't even drink 8 glasses of water a day? And now obesity is supposed to be genetic? How pathetic are we becoming when we searching for ways to blame our forefathers and foremothers instead of eating less potato chips, ice cream, and movie popcorn with that extra butter? You see, the fast food industry makes billions of dollars annually simply because we've lowered our health standards by eating foods flavored with animal and chemical waste. Because in the production process, our food loses all of its original taste. But I'm probably wasting my time since many of us have already decided to die early by the way that we dine. But before we leave here to go to IHOP, I hope that you will take heed to what I'm saying. Because the world's richest nation has become the most obese and won't live long enough to enjoy the fruits of its labor. Because fruit is no longer part of the diet. But if you want to join me in the fight to save our lives, you must understand the words of my diatribe and eat right and exercise, and maybe we can reclaim our nation's well-being 1 pound at a time. That is the diatribe. That is my poem, The Diatribe. And like we do in Deciphered, I am going to decipher. That's right, VCR, appreciate that plug. Also available on the album Signs of the Time, which is available on iTunes. You can definitely go and check that out as well. Appreciate it. Now, let's talk about this poem. Like I said, I called it the diatribe because I'm speaking to our issues relating to food, and even not so much of the industry, but so much of what we are doing as it relates to our daily food consumption. DIETRIBE. So I started out comically with like an ad. That's why I say hi. How are you? Because I'm trying to simulate, people coming up on the radio or that 2 a.m. ad popping up. Ever wish you could get that not so thin feeling? Ever wish you could look down and see your toes without having to bend halfway over? That's where that's coming from. Then I say, you're not alone. Millions of Americans in this fast food nation are just like you. But have no fear, science is on your side, because now you can lose all the weight you want. You don't even have to exercise. A lot of this poem was inspired by a book. I believe the author was Eric Schlosser, who wrote a book called Fast Food Nation, which I encourage everybody to get out there and read because it talks so much about the challenges we're facing in the fast food industry. I mean, there were things in there about talking about how the smells that we smell, the reasons why McDonald's and KFC's, clearly these places won't be calling me for sponsors, I guess. I mean, who knows? Maybe they will. They've been going vegan and other options and stuff, right? They've been offering different things. But he was talking about things like how the reasons why the food smells the same in every restaurant is because of the chemicals that people are pouring onto foods to get that smell. Or and they were just talking about how there was a guy who was walking into a factory and he had a blindfold on and he walked by one scientist and he smelled something, smelled a hamburger. Walked by another one, smelled like buttered popcorn. Walked by another one, smelled a steak. And when he took off his blindfold, all of these guys were just standing there with vials of liquid in their hand. And it just spoke to how they are engaged in making certain foods addictive so that we can buy them more and we're sacrificing our own health. So I strongly recommend that book, Fast Food Nation. It's powerful. To hell with running, exercising, bike riding, and eating right. Now they got pills, potions, diet program to keep us all looking tight. I think too many of us, and I'm not critiquing individual decisions. People have to do what they do. But I think that too many of us look for quick fixes as opposed to doing the work to get ourselves in the best shape. I love what Les Brown said when he said it takes discipline to get in shape, but it also takes discipline to get out of shape. Like you have to eat certain foods. You have to not eat certain foods. You have to choose to willingly not exercise. You have to choose to have a sedentary type of lifestyle. And I'm speaking to people who know that they can do better. And so if you think I'm speaking to you, then if it applies, let it apply. That's why I wrote the poem. All my poems are calls to action. Why get up and do a sit up when you can just get one of those ABBAways and vibrate all day until the pounds just wither away? I think people are coming out with these quick fixes that, again, substitute for real work. And I believe it was Carl Lewis, great athlete, who said you can do all the exercise, but you can't outrun your diet, right? So if you do all these little machines, but you're not putting in the work on the exercise tip, on the sleep tip, we've already lost. You can just try all of these different diet programs. I mentioned several in here. There have been more that have come out. There are going to be more that come out tomorrow that keeps you out of the gym. And you can say, science got your back, man. So if you want to lose that fat, man, don't lose hope. Drink more Coke. So, I believe it was Carl Lewis, right? VCR, correct me if I'm wrong. I have no problem being corrected. We live, you know what I'm saying? A long time ago. But, some people feel like we can get out there and exercise, do the hot yoga, do this and that, and then that gives us permission to go and still have a crappy diet. And that is extremely problematic, particularly as you get older, metabolism stops running as fast as it used to. You have to balance it out. So you can't just eat whatever you want, because you feel like you'll never have to jump rope again, get in the ring, bob and weave. And I said, real soon you won't even have to breathe because they're concocting new formulas to suck that fat right out of you in one swoop. Who knows, right? I mean, since this poem I wrote like almost 20 years ago, there's like weight loss pills that they say you can just digest and lose weight. So who knows? Maybe you're just going to go into one place somewhere and they're just going to, like, better than liposuction, just like whip it out of you. Like, people are working on that because many of us don't want to do the work. We can go from the Blob to Tyra Banks or Wesley Snipes, get that body looking real tight without ever having to eat right. And clearly, my belief is that you have to be able to do that. Couple minutes, all right? I'm coming down. So clearly, I believe. Oh, give me a high five. That's what's up. I'm going to come down and see you in a little bit, all right? Do you want to say hi to the people?
Who are you talking to?
Everybody. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, I'm going to come back down and see that. I feel like every single day people are coming up with new things to make us not want to look like or be like, to make us want to look like other people without having to do the real work. We have to do the work. And then I joke again and say, do you know how I stay slim? I've created my own new formula called Poetry. Because I'm like, hell, everybody else is capitalizing on this stuff. I'm just going to get in on the game myself. And that's kind of a joke. And I said, if I recite 5 poems a day at key hours, the excess weight just comes right off. But only if the poems are 3 minutes and 10 seconds tops. So those people who have been part of slam teams, like national slam teams and things like that, you all know that your poems can't go over 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Otherwise, you start to lose points and ultimately get disqualified. So that's where that came from. And then I said, I sound like I'm joking, but I'm hoping we'll take better steps to improve our well-being. Americans are becoming larger as the search for quick fixes reaches new heights. We're like in a rat race to see what we can come up with the next weight loss product. And it's taken away from the proper diets and eating right and getting sleep. I say we want to watch 8 hours of TV a day and ruin our sight, PlayStations all night. Obviously, that's a play on the word PlayStations, but of course, I'm not just talking about PlayStations. I'm talking about Xboxes and everything else. Poison ourselves with Mad Cows and Sprite. Some of us are old enough to remember Mad Cow disease and other types of disease that go into our diets. And still ask, how can I lose the cellulite? You know how you can do it, but knowing is, they say knowledge is power. That's not true. It's the application of the knowledge is where the true power comes from. I believe that, we are what we eat, or we eat what you are. Some of y'all remember that little cartoon Yellow Germ that was singing about food and diet when we were kids, telling us to eat right. But y'all notice on television, if you watch TV with your kids, there's not a lot of stuff like that out anymore. Telling us to eat right, and even things like, telling us about legislation, Schoolhouse Rock, and all those other things. Like, those types of things just kind of really aren't around anymore. And I said in this line, I've had children in my literature class literally eating cake frosting for breakfast. When those poets fail, yeah, that's right, the rehab, right? I've had children coming to my class, literally eating cake frosting for breakfast. Like, I've seen this in my classroom as a teacher. And then I talk about why, and then I played on, misguided Muslim children alliteration there. Break fast at Burger King, break fast, from breakfast, break fast at Burger King. So they're never really purifying themselves. And in many situations, unfortunately, McDonald's has become the new home cooked meal. And I said with Kentucky, fake chickens for dinner. Because there was a story a couple of years ago, I don't know if you all saw this, where it was the Food and Drug Administration, whatever organization, came out and said that the way that Kentucky Fried Chicken was making their chickens are so heinous that they can't really be considered chickens anymore. And to me, that was conveniently around the same time that Kentucky Fried Chicken went from saying Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC, and didn't mention the word chicken a lot in his ads, but a lot of us were still just going for it. And that's why I called them Kentucky fake chickens. And, do the research. I find that it was very interesting that those things would happen at the same time. So, and Kentucky fake chickens. It hurts me to have to say all this. We're losing our workout ethic, spending more money so we can move less and eat more, while many of the world's poor eat one meal a day. So here it's unnerving because we're not even serving our kids what they need. So on both sides of the world, Kentucky Fried Chemicals, all right? So on both sides of the world, our children are malnourished. Now, of course, when we talk about kids on other sides, in other places, we're talking about lack of access to food. What I'm talking about us here, I'm talking about access to food that is poisonous and killing us on a daily basis, because we're being attracted to trash. And we wonder why we have increasing rates of heart disease and diabetes while our kids are still in their teens, since a lot of our kids get the same stuff fed to them in our schools. And look what's happening now under the current president in Davos and what they're doing as it relates to dietary programs. And this was before, Michelle Obama's program of Let's Move and get people eating right. It was before all of that, that I was writing this stuff. But again, every single day we're being poisoned because a lot of these government officials have connections with these industries that want us eating more and more trash. And so we have to be mindful of that. And so I ask, how have we become such fools, intent on poisoning ourselves by eating hamburgers composed of 30 different cows? Research has shown that some of those products that we eat that are going into these hamburgers are coming from not just one cow, but a whole bunch of different ones smashed in together in these factories. And we can't even drink 8 glasses of water a day. And now obesity is supposed to be genetic. How pathetic are we becoming when we search for ways to blame our forefathers and foremothers instead of eating less potato chips, ice cream, and movie popcorn with that extra butter? Again, we can't get away from personal responsibility. We know what's out there. We know what's out there in our communities. We know what people can get access to and can't get access to. But there's never going to be a substitute for not being able to get your exercise in, to get that proper sleep, to get that water in, and we can do that. But you got to decide to do that. And remember, deciding not to decide is a decision. The fast food industry makes billions of dollars annually simply because we've lowered our health standards while increasing our intake of food flavored with chemicals and animal waste, because in the production process, our food loses its original taste. Now, many of y'all who've traveled overseas, y'all have been in places where they don't put chemicals in the food, and you know that the food tastes a lot different. And, somebody once said that chicken is supposed to be one of the most durable meats. Like, you're not supposed to be able to cut it with a fork. You're supposed to need a knife to do that. But if the chemicals that get put into this stuff make them so soft, you can cut some of these chicken with like a spoon, right? But that's part of what the industry does, that we need to do a better job of understanding how that works. But I'm probably wasting my time, since many of y'all already decided to die early by the way that you dine. But before you leave here to go to IHOP, I hope that you will take heed to these words. Again, I love to play on words. IHOP and I hope. The world's richest nation has become the most obese and won't live long enough to enjoy the fruits of its labor, because fruit is no longer part of the diet. Between allergies and access, it's hard to get fruits now, right? And even if you see what's going on right now in this COVID crisis, you see even farmers are destroying crops because there's no one to sell it to, there's no one to pick the stuff up. So the only thing we're going to be able to rely on even more in this crisis is more and more processed foods. And that's really problematic as well. But if you want to join me in this battle to save our lives, understand the words of my diatribe and eat right and exercise, and maybe we can reclaim our nation's well-being 1 pound at a time. And that is the diatribe, ladies and gentlemen. So those are my 2 poems for today from the Limbs of My Poetry. First poem was called Progress, or excuse me, Do You Have the Time? Second piece was called The Diatribe. I thank you for tuning in. If you got any questions or comments, I'm here for it. You can definitely let me know. But this is what we're doing. Every week, you got to join me Friday at 11, because this diatribe, this, all of these things. If you want to get them, again, you can go online and check them out. You can go on iTunes to hear them. Some of these I have live videos on YouTube as well. Anywhere you can get access to the media, my stuff is there. So if you're interested in the poem in terms of verbally, you can get it and a lot of the poems have music on them when you get them from the CDs as well. So I'm wrapping up another episode of Deciphered, a spoken word series. I appreciate you all being with me, and we will do this again next week. If you enjoyed it, let me know, and let other people know that this is what we're doing. Same time, same channel, Instagram, Facebook. Hit a brother up. Y'all stay strong, stay safe, and eat right. Peace.